A big fairground food. Welcome to Steve's Kitchen. What are we making today? It's my KANGA BANGER ROO rocket. What is that exactly? Well, it's a kangaroo sausage wrapped up in a Vegemite and puff pastry and then deep fried. And trust me, this is so delicious. Let's get on and make the KANGA BANGER ROO rocket. Now we're going to require some kangaroo sausages. Now I know a lot of you may not be able to get these, so you could actually use any sausage you like, but kangaroo sausages are great. They're going to be linked together like this and in their skins. We want to cut the links and remove the skins from the sausage. They don't fry well with the skins on. And that's going to make them nice and easy to go onto a skewer. They're almost like a kebab. Put the skewer through the center of the sausage, then we want to pop it into the freezer to let it firm up for a couple of hours before we wrap it in the pastry. Whilst our ROO rockets are setting up in the freezer, I'm going to make a little bit of a sauce with some kick in it. The base of this sauce is a couple of tablespoons of mayonnaise. Into that, I'm going to add a pinch of salt for seasoning. On top of that, we're going to put some chili flakes. Now, if you've got fresh chilies or some jalapenos, it would be perfect. I like to add in a bit of smoked paprika for flavor. If you have some fresh coriander or cilantro, as the Americans call it, this is the time to add that in. It'll be just perfect with this sauce. I haven't got any. We're going to top the whole thing up with 2 or 3 tablespoons of my homemade tomato ketchup. And we're just going to give this a good mix through. And we're just going to set this aside and let it mature for a little while before we serve it with our ROO rockets. Oh, so good. Now, a short while before the KANGA BANGERs are ready to come out of the freezer, you're going to want some Vegemite. You're going to want a sheet of store-bought puff pastry. And what we want to do is take that pastry and we're just going to cut off some 1/2-inch strips. So you can use either a knife or here I've got a pizza cutter. Now, I'm going to do enough strips so there are 2 per banger. We're going to prep these one at a time, so I'm just going to put the strips over here. Now, one of these strips of pastry is not long enough on its own, so what I'm going to do is take a little bit of water. I'm just going to brush some on the tip of this piece of pastry, then I'll take a second piece of pastry and just join them together. So now we've got this nice long strip of puff pastry. The next step, we're going to take some Vegemite on a palette knife or butter knife, and we're going to spread that nice and evenly onto the surface of the puff pastry. The Vegemite is going to impart a really lovely flavour onto the ROO rocket. Now I've got my KANGA BANGER on a stick. It's nice and firm. It's been in the freezer for a couple of hours. What we're going to do is just lay it about 1 inch or so from the end. I'm just going to lift the pastry up. We're just going to roll this, and we want this sort of spiral effect. You can adjust the pastry as you go along. There's our little join there. And at the end there, we're just going to wrap it round and just bring it down onto the stick. Now I have a second one here that I've done. Now, you could freeze these again in the freezer or you can fry them straight away. You want your oil up around about 180 degrees Celsius. That's about 350 Fahrenheit. And we're going to pop these in the deep fat fryer. You're going to leave them in there for at least 3 minutes. They want to be a beautiful golden brown when they come out of the oil. Now, if you find it starts to stick to the bottom, just give it a little knock to make it loose. These ROO rockets are not going to float like a corn dog. There's not enough air in the batter. Now, I tell a lie, it is actually floating there, and I'm just going to lift it out by using the basket. We'll then just take that out, and I'm going to lay it on some kitchen paper towel just to drain a little bit. Now, I've got a few more of these beauties to fry up, and I'll have a little chat with you afterwards. I did say that you could refreeze these, but I'm going to correct that in a second. Let's get on and cook these. So I did think once the frozen sausages were wrapped in the pastry that you could freeze them and then fry them. But what actually happens, if you look at this one at this end here, it starts to unravel. Now, here is one that I've frozen the sausage, wrapped the pastry around and fried, came out perfectly. But the frozen pastry one, they're unwrapping, so I go with fresh wrap and fry. Now, just in case you're thinking that frozen one might have been a one-off, I actually froze 2 and you can see they completely unraveled, so fresh dough is the way to go. So now we've cooked our KANGA BANGER ROO rockets and I've got my beautiful hot dipping sauce. I'm just going to take one of these. That is looking absolutely delicious. Of course, I've got to dip it in the sauce. Get it right in there, give it a good twist round. Now, if this was fairground food, I reckon we'd be serving this with a paper plate, not a fancy slate. I'm going to tuck into this. I hope you'll be joining me and coming along and making this great fun food. Here goes. Oh, it's unraveling. Yes, you're getting that lovely Vegemite, you're getting the KANGA banger, the rich flavour of kangaroo meat. This is so good. Didn't really need the plate. I hope you enjoyed this series that we're doing of fairground food. And as I said, I'm starting off the series with a couple of what I would consider to be Aussie classics, even though they're not particularly invented yet. Have some fun with them. In the next episode, we're going to be hitting the ground running with some fantastic American classics. So I'll see you then. Take care. See you next time.